Webb throws a gem until he doesn't. Is Rafael Devers being wasted in the two-hole? And what is the future of Patrick Bailey? That's all coming up next on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome again to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. My name is Allen Stiles. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the SF Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and just a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay Area. I also host a show at Sacktown Sports 1140, as well as emceeing at the Sacramento River Cats games. I'm lucky enough to cover a team that I've been a fan of all my life. It's time to break down the Giants dropping the opener to the Padres, whether or not Logan Webb should have gone back out there in the seventh, should Rafael Devers stay in the two-hole, and solving the Patrick Bailey issue. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit FanDuel, the FanDuel app today to start planning your future bets now. We're going to kick this thing off similar to how we kicked it off yesterday with Bob's big mistake, okay? And what do I mean by that? Well, obviously, Logan Webb, he did not pitch too well once he got to the seventh inning. He did have a shutout up until then, but I will say that, he had given up one run. But I will say this, if you watch baseball, as I know all of you do, all shutouts are not created equal. And Logan Webb, or I should say one-run games, are not created equal. Logan Webb had been playing with fire all game long, and it appeared as if he was playing with fire all game long. And at that point in time, I feel as if Bob Melvin should have known that he should have been taken out. And I get that Logan Webb is an absolute bulldog. I completely understand it, okay? But the Giants now, in this situation, have lost 3 straight games, a game under 500. They're 4.5 games back of the Mets, 5 hits, 1 run off the Devers home run. More of the same, no life, no pulse, no offense. My guy, Drew Gilbert, got his first hit. He was a little too aggressive. You can't make that last out at third. But honestly, I appreciated the hustle because at least he was trying to make a play. But getting back to the Logan Webb conversation, just an absolute bulldog, one of the best competitors that I've really seen in a Giants uniform within the last 20 years, maybe more than that. So I'm not saying it wasn't going to be an easy conversation, but if you're Bob Melvin, you have to see the forest for the trees and understand that this is the right thing to do. Because Logan Webb, Fernando Tatis Jr., he was on base, it felt like every other second. Furman, the catcher, we're going to talk about the catcher position a little bit later as well for the Giants, but Furman, hard contact, it felt like every time he was at the plate with Logan Webb. And with a talented lineup like that of the San Diego Padres, you can't allow them to see somebody, even if it's Logan Webb, as many times as they had. He only had, 3 strikeouts, okay, in the game last night. So it's not as if he was mowing them down or anything of that nature. I just feel like if you're Bob Melvin, you got to know better than that. And maybe, it was a tough conversation, and maybe Logan Webb essentially said, no, I got this. And you want to show respect and you want to trust your guy. But at this point in time, I think even Logan Webb in that moment maybe felt as if he could have just passed the ball along to somebody else in the bullpen. Now, with that being said, this is also a product of the decisions that the Giants made, and the Giants deciding to make those moves that they did. That's how you got Drew Gilbert. That's how you got Blade Tidwell. That's how you got some of these guys. And you move off of Camilo Duvall. You move off of Rogers, of course. So you kind of put yourself in this situation. And I'm not upset at Buster for doing it, but maybe that's part of it as well, if I'm trying to give Bob Melvin a little bit of grace. But in that moment, with that San Diego Padres lineup, and Lucchesi came in and he pitched pretty well. He pitched really well. So I'm just not really understanding what Bob Melvin's thought process was as far as leaving Logan Webb in the ball game, besides the fact that Logan Webb is essentially your ace. He's a bulldog, and it's always going to be really tough to pull him out of a game. But you have to see more than that, right? You cannot just, even if Logan Webb is trying to fight you on it, you're the big dog, right? You're the manager. It's your call. It's your job on the line, by the way. And the whole Bob Melvin thing, real quick, they picked up an option. A lot of people keep saying that they extended him. They just picked up an option. So the idea that Bob is safe going into next season, that is not the case at all, right? It's not as if they gave him a 3-year extension, something like that. So, you have to make these decisions. And if you've played baseball at any level, or even if you've watched baseball at any level, we all know how important a shutdown inning is. And if you aren't seeing that type of dominance, you have to make the right decision in that moment. Now, I know it's only the second show, so I don't want it to come off as if this is the bash Bob Melvin show, but this should be some version of your calling card if you're Bob Melvin, right? Look, yesterday we talked about how, me personally, I like my guys fiery. I like to see that emotion in really all sports outside of baseball. So that's just who I am and what I enjoy, and that's kind of how I played the game and how I even fan, if you will. It's all fine and good if you're not that person. Bruce Bochy wasn't really that person, okay? So that's not a problem. But if you're not that person and you've been around the game this long, and your calling card should be understanding the game and doing what is best for the team, you cannot miss stuff like this. You can't miss stuff like this. Not right now, not in the race that you're in, not against that team. You cannot miss stuff like this. So that's kind of my issue, if you will, with the decision that Bob Melvin made. I understand that it was probably a really tough conversation, but Logan Webb, he was not the Logan Webb that we've seen before, where he's dominant and nobody can touch him. And it really, to me, just shouldn't have even been that tough of a decision, to be completely honest with you. I mean, you should have just felt like, hey, we're kind of lucky, for lack of a better term, that we got out of here with just the one run at that time. Logan Webb, so he finishes with 6 1/3 inning, 8 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Right. And like I said, Lucchesi, he pitched the 1 inning. I thought he pitched pretty well. But after that, the game is over. Right. After that, once you gave up 3 runs, I hope you didn't get up to grab some food or go to the bathroom, because you probably sat back down and thought, what the heck just happened? I think that was I don't want to say poetic justice because the Giants lost, but to see how quickly the decision ended up being a bad one, that was what was the bad look for the coaching staff and for Bob Melvin. It was just immediate. As soon as he decided to let Logan Webb go back out there, it looked bad before you sat down from the change in the inning. And spirits were high. You had Rafael Devers, obviously. He hit that home run. It's a tie game, and you don't even get to enjoy it. You don't even get to enjoy it. So to me, I understand that it's really hard to pull Logan Webb out, but in that situation where he's not necessarily balling out of control and he only has 3 strikeouts and it feels like he's been playing with fire for a good bit of his time out there, this really shouldn't have been that hard of a decision. Coming up next, are the bats broken? And should Rafael Devers stay in the 2-hole? Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the plumber didn't answer, did you wait? Nope. You called the next one. That's why having a reliable business line is so important. And that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more, who's handling this? OpenPhone is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnMLB. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnMLB. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra calls. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling for MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. So take a flyer on Brock Purdy for MVP like I might do. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. So now let's get into a specific part of the lineup. And this has been something everyone has been going back and forth about, whether or not Rafael Devers should stay in the 2-hole. Okay. Now let's start here. I am on record that I am pretty darn old school when it comes to lineups. I like my 3-hitter to be my best hitter, my 4-hitter to be my power hitter, my 2-hitter to be my contact hitter, my leadoff to really do a lot of everything. I like my leadoff to have some speed. I like my leadoff to get on base, obviously a good bit, but I don't need my leadoff to be the, just kind of the squirrely fast guy that doesn't really have any pop. He should be a combination. So with that, I don't necessarily mind Elliot Ramos in the leadoff position. It just hasn't really worked out so far as far as the combination between him and Rafael Devers. But like I said, I'm pretty old school in theory. I think your leadoff hitter is supposed to get on base at a decent clip. So there should be a potential mini rally at least once a game between your 1 and your 2-hitter if your 3-hitter is now your 2-hitter. And it just hasn't lined up correctly for the Giants so far. And in addition to that, I think that if Rafael Devers is moved down to 3 or 4 in the lineup, and move to the heart of the order, he would probably get pitched to in a different manner, because if you do have guys on base around him, you're just not going to let him get fastballs down the pipe. With that being said, if he's your best hitter, then you have to put him in a position to bring in runs. On the flip side of that, not to contradict myself, at this point in time, if you are the Padres or any other team, Rafael Devers is just the guy that you're not going to let beat you. Right. So if he is, unless he's up in a situation where you simply cannot walk him, they're just going to pitch around him. That's what happens when nobody else is hitting on the squad. So if you are a team that is coming up against the Giants, you're just going to you circle Rafael Devers every day and say, if this guy doesn't beat us, we probably win the ball game. So to me, that's the problem with dropping Rafael Devers down in the lineup, and why at this point in time I would be more conditioned to move him to the leadoff spot than to drop him down, because where we're at with this Giants lineup, Rafael Devers is just going to have to hit as many times as possible, right? He just needs to literally be the guy that is up all the time, whether there are people on base or not, right? If he has base runners, that's great, but regardless of whether he has base runners or not, I need Rafael Devers up as many times as possible. So I typically am the guy that likes my best hitter to be the 3-hitter. I know the new craze is the 2-hitter being your best hitter, and I understand why. But it's almost as if I understand why for teams like the Giants, where you don't have a ton of firepower, or the firepower isn't working, because the Giants do have a decent amount. You look at Willy Adames. When Willy Adames has been right, he's been really good. When Matt Chapman has been right, he's been good. I don't know about really good, but he's been good. And obviously, up and down the lineup, Elliot Ramos has been a good player as well. He's been probably the most consistent hitter. They just haven't all put it together at one time. So in theory, you should be able to hit Rafi 2 or 3, and he has hit 2 or 3. It feels like he's been in the 2-hole more as of late. And I think part of that is because, look, if nothing else, we need to get this dude up as much as possible. Right? As much as possible. Some of the decisions and some of the changes that I would at least think about, though, when it comes to the lineup, I know Jung-Hoo Lee didn't really excel as a leadoff hitter in the past, but if you watch his at-bats and truly see his approach, even if it's not hard contact, he's clearly trying to go the other way. And I was a bit hard on him, and I've been hard on him just as far as this not being the KBO, and you have to adapt in some sort of way. But at this point in time, when I'm watching Jung-Hoo Lee, he's trying to go the other way. Even, he had a little nubber yesterday, and he got on base with that. And later on in the game, he actually went the other way. It was very close to being a double down the line. So I think with this newfound approach from Jung-Hoo Lee, you could make the argument that you could try him back out at the 1 position. I'm also not opposed to him at the 9 position, and I've said that before. I think that in this new landscape, and the opposite of batting somebody higher in the lineup would be lower in the lineup, but I don't think there's a huge difference between batting Jung-Hoo Lee 6, 7, 8 and just making him the second leadoff hitter as far as the 9 hitter. But if you don't want to do that, if you think he's too good of a hitter to do that, I would put him back in the leadoff position. It can't get much worse than this. They have 3 runs in the last 27 innings, right? I mean, what are we actually talking about? What do they have? Five hits last night? 5 hits last night, 1 run. We can't keep watching the same thing. We cannot keep watching the same thing every single day. So the Jung-Hoo Lee that started the season and was leadoff at the beginning of the season, that's not the same Jung-Hoo Lee that I'm seeing now, right? I'm seeing a different version of Jung-Hoo Lee. And because of that, I think I would move Jung-Hoo Lee to the 1 hole. If you want to keep Rafael Devers in the 2 hole, I'm good with that. And I would actually move Elliot Ramos to the 3 hole. I would see how that looks because he has been fairly consistent and just getting knocks, right? The power isn't really there for anybody on the Giants, but Elliot Ramos is going to get knocks. So some combination of Rafael Devers and Elliot Ramos, or I would move Elliot Ramos to the 2, and I would move then Rafael Devers to the 3, because if Elliot Ramos has been a pretty consistent knock getter, at that point in time, you can drop Rafael Devers down. And now when Rafael Devers does hit a dinger, when he does go ding dong Donkey Kong, you can at least have somebody on base. So I think any combination, I think I would go Jung-Hoo Lee leadoff, just based on how he's been approaching his at-bats lately. I'm almost talking myself into Elliot Ramos 2 and Rafael Devers 3, right? Those are the 3 guys that I have seen a good bit from. After that, I mean, your Matt Chapmans, your Willy Adameses, I just don't really know what to do with them. I would leave Willie 4 at this point. He's just pretty darn streaky. Just leave him 4 and hope that he gets hot at some point in time in the near future. And with Matt Chapman, I don't really know that he should be anybody's 5 hitter. I would really just prefer Dominic Smith as the 5 hitter and just drop Matt Chapman down. At this point, we just want teams to essentially forget about Matt Chapman because I think he could sneak up on some people. I don't think anybody is circling Matt Chapman already, but maybe he can sneak up on some people, and in that way, he could help. Now, again, after you get past the 4, right, it's just a matter of who you think is going to be put in a good position, because we know how it is in baseball. Whoever is the coldest hitter, they're going to be up with the game essentially on the line. Speaking of having at-bats up with the game on the line, let's talk Patrick Bailey and the future of Patrick Bailey behind the dish and at the plate for our last segment. Do not move. More Locked On Giants coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by Gameday Hue. For Giants fans like me, this one hits the mark. Gameday Hue makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. I love rocking my Gameday Hue on the course. It's subtle, stylish, and I can still rep my team. And it's not just hats. They also have split shade gloves made for the golf course, or the perfect gift for the fan who has everything. Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now's the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GamedayHue.com, code MLB15. Last but not least, we are going to have a pretty uncomfortable conversation about Patrick Bailey. Now, if you're just listening to the show for the first time, number one, I appreciate you. And real quick, I appreciate all the love that everybody showed me on the YouTube yesterday. Just all the comments that I read. I really thank you for that. This was a lot of fun, and it's going to continue being a lot of fun. We're just now getting started. Monday through Friday, you can catch me on the new version of the Locked On Giants. So I just wanted to quickly thank everyone for that. And yesterday I mentioned how we can't get too caught up in Patrick Bailey and whoever the right fielder is, and that being the reason the lineup is struggling. I said that. I know for a fact I said that because I remember saying that. With that being said, though, Patrick Bailey is completely lost at the dish. Or at the plate, not behind the dish. He's been great, but at the plate. And I'm just not sure how much longer you can continue to let him struggle. Wait for it. Let him struggle with no competition. Letting him struggle with absolutely no competition, no fear of anybody to take his spot. Right? Iron sharpens iron. Let's take it to the weight room. If you go work out, right, or you go to the gym, when you see other people, there's a reason people go to the gym. Because you like seeing other people work out, you like seeing other people do their work, and it kind of motivates you and drives you. Patrick Bailey right now has nobody motivating him or driving him. Take a listen to this. And real quick, Patrick Bailey, I know his line is pretty terrible, right? But he's hitting 217. His on-pace percentage is 273. Slugging 308, OPS 581. That's atrocious. I mean, that's terrible. Right? And he's incredible behind the plate. He really is. But he is not good enough, and he hasn't proven enough to where there should be just no competition. Right? It's him, and we'll get into what's coming down the pipeline in the organization really quick here. But let's not forget, Patrick Bailey coming up was supposed to be the defensive guy. Our old friend Joey Bart was supposed to be the more offensive catcher. We know how that turned out. A shout out to Joey Bart with the Pittsburgh Pirates. But as far as what is in the pipeline right now, because like I mentioned, I work for the Sacramento River Cats. I do some emceeing out there. If you're out there, come say what's up to your boy. But they had Austin Barnes for some odd reason in Sacramento. He's gone now. They now have Logan Porter back there and a 27-year-old Sam Huff. There are literally no long-term answers to challenge Patrick Bailey. I looked this up last night. Jesus Rodriguez, he is the only catcher on their top 30 prospect list. And I'll put it to you like this. I work about half the games, okay, half of the games during homestand, so that's 3 out of 6. I've never seen Jesus Rodriguez catch. Never. He's DH'd every time I've watched him play baseball. So he's not even really catching for the River Cats. They have 2 other catchers, like I mentioned, and I just don't even think that the answer is in the organization right now. Kind of similar to the right field position. I don't know if the right field position is in the organization right now. I think Buster might go out and try to do some different things. But as far as the catcher is concerned, there's a name out there that had been brought up before. And let me caveat this with, some of you are going to love this and some of you are going to hate this. okay? And be sure to let me know in the form of comments, whatever the case is, how you feel. But there's a name out there that has been brought up and was brought up during the trade deadline because he's having a down year. The team in general just completely forgot how to play baseball for a year. I'm not really sure what happened there, but his name was floated around. And based on who is in charge in San Francisco, I think this could be a match made in heaven, okay? Let me tell you who that is. His name is Adley Rutschman. You remember him back when the Pac-12 was the Pac-12 and everything that he did at Oregon State. He's 27 years old. By the way, Patrick Bailey's 26. Adley Rutschman, a two-time All-Star. Okay, he's gotten MVP votes before. He's had a down year, but that Orioles team is an absolute mess. By the way, Daniel Johnson out of Vallejo, he's with the Orioles now, so shout out to Daniel Johnson. He had a pretty good stretch with the Giants, but I digress. You have a guy in Adley Rutschman who would be able to learn under Buster Posey. And I'm really torn about this because I'd like to see them battle it out, but it would turn Patrick Bailey into a bit of a backup. And it would be a question as to what his future looks like. But Patrick Bailey, he is under team control until I believe through the year 2027. And I think the question and the uncomfortable question that you have to ask yourself, as much as Patrick Bailey could be a Gold Glover behind the dish, right, is already a Gold Glover behind the dish, and as far as how he plays the game, are you positive that Patrick Bailey is going to be your catcher for the next 5 years, right? Are you positive that that's the guy you're putting behind the dish for the next 5 years? Just with no questions. Again, he's having a bad year. He's nicknamed Patty Barrels, but Patrick Bailey was never necessarily slated to be that offensive juggernaut. And he doesn't have to be. He just can't be this bad. That's the other part of it. He just cannot be this bad. And once you get into next season, if Buster Posey is in this conversation or approaching this thing in some version of an all-in manner, then you have to at least see what else is out there. I'm not saying to move on from Patrick Bailey. I'm just saying that I don't know that you cannot make any calls, right? You look around the rest of the lineup, and Bryce Eldridge is going to be up soon. And maybe you just think, hey, we like Patrick Bailey. We're going to go out and get the real right fielder. We're going to go out and pull up Bryce Eldridge. Second base, we'll see if Casey Schmidt actually locks that down. And that's what we're going to do. At that point in time, the only hole, if you will be Patrick Bailey, and hopefully he finds his barrels as if he was in the seasons prior. Maybe that's how you approach it. Okay, I'm not opposed to that either. But if Adley Rutschman is available and it's not a crazy price tag because he's coming off a down season, I think you at least have to have a conversation internally. I'm not saying to move him, but it worries me when, in any sport really, it worries me when you do not have any type of competition. Now, I just looked up the top 30 prospects. Like I said, I've never seen Jesus Rodriguez catch a game. They got two other catchers out here in Sacramento, and I have not seen Jesus Rodriguez. And he's number 16, by the way, on the top 30 prospect list. But I have not seen him catch a game. That doesn't mean he never will, but as of right now, Patrick Bailey has absolutely no competition. You know, Logan Porter's been up and down, and he's shown, I guess, some flashes, but I just think it is healthy for him to have that competition. Now, on the other side, Adley Rutschman, you could argue that it wouldn't even be competition. Adley Rutschman would be the starter. You could even argue Patrick Bailey might be in that deal because I do think he has a good amount of value as a really good defensive catcher. I don't know if Patrick Bailey is a starting catcher in this league. And it doesn't help, to be honest with you. It doesn't help that I'm watching Furman for the Padres make incredible contact. all game long last night against the Giants ace and Logan Webb. So maybe it's a little bit of being prisoner of the moment, but we watch Patrick Bailey look at the third strike time and time and time again, and you're going to go into next season, okay, after he's had an atrocious, terrible, just brutal season at the plate, and then how long do you wait? Now are you in a position again where you're just wearing it? These teams are good enough. They're going to find a way, and that's how baseball works. They're going to find a way to make sure that Patrick Bailey is up when it matters the most. And he had opportunities last night, and I feel bad for the kid. I really do. But he's just completely dumbfounded, right? You know that there are some hitters that are hitters that react and hitters that guess. Well, I don't really know what Patrick Bailey is doing. He's not reacting or guessing. He's probably just up there hoping and praying. That's what it is. So as good as he is behind the dish, and people will, argue, well, if you look at the advanced metrics, he's even where he's at now, he's still a positive to be out there. That's all fine and good, but I'm watching the game. I'm watching it. It doesn't have to be Adley Rutschman, but that's a name that got brought up. And if you don't have somebody, I think the biggest thing for me is if you don't have somebody that's at least waiting in the wings from the catcher position, I don't know how comfortable I feel as far as Patrick Bailey just being the guy with no competition. Look, because if Joey Bart worked out and didn't get moved, they were supposed to battle it out. That's how it's supposed to be. And because of how things ended up going with Joey Bart, it's not the case. We'll see what happens, but don't get too mad at me. I just had to bring that up. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen. I am Allen Stiles. You can find me on social media at @the_Stiles Files, Stiles with an I. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get your local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll talk to you again soon. Peace.